Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365 here on YouTube. Hope everyone is doing well, staying safe, staying indoors, and hope everyone is enjoying WrestleMania weekend. Of course, WrestleMania Day 1 was last night. So we're going to talk a little bit about what everyone is talking about coming out of WrestleMania last night, and that is, of course, the Boneyard match between AJ Styles and The Undertaker. The American Badass version of The Undertaker is officially back. I think we all kind of knew that that's what was coming after The Undertaker's promo on Monday Night Raw, but it was officially confirmed last night. He rode in on his motorcycle and had the show-stealing match, if you call it a match, with AJ Styles in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania. Now, for those who didn't see this was kind of, I don't want to fully say this isn't anything like we've ever seen in WWE before, because we have seen this kind of thing before. And when I mean this kind of thing, it's cinematic wrestling. That's exactly what it is. If you're a fan of the Broken Universe specifically, that's exactly what this kind of production was last night at WrestleMania. It was shot like a film. Now, like I said, I don't want to say we haven't seen anything like this before, because we kind of have in WWE. Obviously, we've seen it in Impact Wrestling and now in AEW, but we've seen it briefly in WWE before. We had the was it Ultimate Deletion match with Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy a few years ago on Raw, that closed Raw. We had a similar thing at WrestleMania 12 with the Hollywood Backlot Brawl with Roddy Piper and Goldust. Now, I saw some people said, well, that was the start of it all. And now, if you go back and watch that wasn't a production like this was. That was more of a match that was shot outside of the arena to come into the arena. I don't consider this on the same level as this in terms of a production. I do consider the Broken Universe, the Final Deletion, Ultimate Deletion, whatever you want to call it, that stuff is incredibly similar to this sort of stuff. And of course, if you're a fan of Lucha Underground, that's exactly what this kind of match was. So, like I said, this was shot like a film. It had a full score. It had music in the background that changed at various moments. It had sound effects. In terms of the score as well, we actually had Metallica music playing in the background when Undertaker made his entrance and exit. This was also a multiple camera shoot. So like I said, this was a full-on production. It had multiple edits. I saw some people say there was maybe too many edits there. That's part of the course, I suppose, with WWE. We criticize, I know I do, criticize them often with maybe too many edits going on in the matches. But to be honest, I didn't think the edits were that bad. I saw past them. If you were really engrossed in the match or in the production like I was and just enjoying it for what it was, I didn't really even notice the edits at all. It was only when people pointed them out and I go back and I see them. But on first viewing, I didn't even notice the edits at all. So I don't even think that was much to really comment on with that. In terms of The Undertaker, like I said, he reverted back fully to the American Badass version of the character last night. He rode his motorcycle in for his entrance, and as I mentioned previously, whilst he was doing that entrance, he actually had Metallica playing in the background, which was great. They had some drone shots, some overhead shots. This was all shot at night as well, which obviously is incredibly in keeping with the Undertaker character. But the visual of only hearing the motorcycle first and then seeing the light of the headlight, and then it slowly sort of piercing through the dark night was an incredibly great visual shot, and that was a recurring theme throughout this Boneyard match. There were some visuals in this that were really tremendous, real high quality stuff. I've been saying for a long time, I really wish when WWE would produce their backstage stuff at live events that they would use a multicam setup, because I just think that the single cam shots and not having the full-on reactions of both competitors just isn't in keeping with modern day production. This is $1 billion company that can do production so well, and that was evidenced last night. The production quality and production standards here were so high. And it was also a nice point to it as well, that there wasn't any commentary on this match. Like I said, this was a movie scene. This was a movie production. So there was no commentary. You just heard the trash talking and the music playing in the background, the trash talking between The Undertaker and AJ Styles, which was great. I thought AJ did great in terms of his trash talking, but The Undertaker, this was what was so great about the American Badass character back in the day, back in the early 2000s, is that The Undertaker started to cut real promos. When he would cut real promos, you would realize is that this is more than just a rest in peace slogan and catchphrase. The Undertaker can cut some of the meanest and most vicious smack talking promos in the business ever. So with this opportunity that he had with no commentary team, the soundtrack was the music and the trash talking between AJ Styles and The Undertaker. The Undertaker's trash talking was next level in this. I thought he did a tremendous job in this. And physically, I thought he looked great. I think this is the best. I struggle to call it a match because it's not really a match, but this is the best thing that The Undertaker has done in the WWE, in my opinion, since the CM Punk match at WrestleMania 29, especially on the WrestleMania stage, I mean, of course. And that's just because it was the WrestleMania match against CM Punk. I was glued to the screen. And every other time since then, when The Undertaker comes out at WrestleMania, you have this sort of gnawing thing at the back of your head going, well, how longer should he really be out there? How longer can he do this? Physically, he's declining. He looks worse and worse. And is this going to be the last time? Is this going to be the last run of The Undertaker? All of those things eat into your head, and they kind of almost take you out of the moment because you sort of are going to yourself, well, is this it? Is this it? And that wasn't the case in this one. It really wasn't the case because I was just so engrossed in what was unfolding in front of me on the screen. I wasn't thinking, is this going to be The Undertaker's last run? Is this it? All of this sort of stuff. I was just thinking, this is awesome. This is great. The Undertaker looks great. This is different to what we are used to seeing on WWE television. This is fantastic. And it was certainly, considering that's a WrestleMania main event now. Of course, this year there's going to be 2 WrestleMania main events, night 1 and night 2. But we've had The Undertaker and AJ Styles main event night 1. So in terms of a WrestleMania main event, I would say this is certainly the best WrestleMania main event for me since WrestleMania 31, which was the Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar match with the Seth Rollins cash-in. I don't think we've seen every time since then when we've had the WrestleMania main events, because the show's been so long, so drawn out, you're just tired. And when it comes to the main event, even if it's a half-decent match, your interest is so depleted just because you're tired. Mentally, you're exhausted. And if you're physically in the crowd, like last year when they're in New Jersey, I mean, it was April, so it's cold. So not only are you physically tired, you're mentally tired and you're cold. But I felt like this main event, in keeping with the shorter run time of the WrestleMania card, I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And there was also a teaser earlier on in the show that WWE have produced and will be releasing soon, an Undertaker documentary called The Undertaker, The Last Ride. And in it, he talks about his injuries, his family talk about his injuries, talk about when is the right time to hang it up. Is it too difficult for him to hang it up? And there was a couple of standout lines in there that really spoke to me when they said, or The Undertaker said specifically, that he didn't want to be like a shell of himself and all of that sort of stuff. We've heard that before, but he says, I want to go out in a match in keeping with The Undertaker, which then started to raise alarm bells in my head, actually, saying, is this going to be tonight? Is this going to be the last match? And I didn't think that it would be, to be honest. Obviously, that Boneyard match, it was a buried alive match, is incredibly in keeping with The Undertaker, but I don't think he was going to end his career in front of 0 fans on a closed set at a taped production. But I do think this could possibly be The Undertaker's final year. Survivor Series in November, if everything is back up and running by then, which, again, that's a debate for another day. If it is up and running by then, Survivor Series is the 30th anniversary of The Undertaker's debut. I said since the start of the year that I think this will be The Undertaker's final year. I still do think that. And if Survivor Series goes ahead in a live crowd in an arena, then I certainly do think that might be The Undertaker's retirement match there, and he will have that final match, which is in keeping with The Undertaker. Now, whether or not they're going to announce that on the documentary or they're going to wait closer to the time, we'll have to wait and see. And before we get into some of the other parts of it, I think it's obvious that I think the right person won here. I saw some people saying, well, AJ Styles should have won here. The Undertaker, well, who benefits with AJ Styles losing here? The Undertaker's just going to go away for a while. The Undertaker's part-time. AJ Styles is full-time. That's an argument for a completely different time, to be honest. Look, if The Undertaker's going to compete at WrestleMania, he should win. And I know people can say, well, he's lost twice now. Yes, he lost. That first time to Brock Lesnar. I mean, I'm still the guy who says that Undertaker shouldn't have lost at all, and I don't think I'm the only one with any of that. And the Roman Reigns loss, I think the Undertaker thought, and he said this on the Broken Skull sessions with Steve Austin, I think he thought that was going to be the final time. Why else would he have put the gloves and the hat and the coat in the ring? Because he thought that was it, and he was going to put over the new star on the way out. That's what he thought. So that's why that loss happened. Any other time the Undertaker competes at WrestleMania, he should win. End of discussion. That's just what it is. So the argument that, oh, well, AJ Styles should have won, look, it's a buried alive match. The Undertaker shouldn't lose that match at WrestleMania. And The Undertaker's just been verbally, beat down by AJ Styles in this feud, talking about his wife, talking about his family, calling him an old man. He's not scared of The Undertaker anymore. All of this, which in the end brought out the American badass biker version of The Undertaker. The Undertaker had to win. It was only logical storytelling sense to all of this. So I don't hold any stock in the argument that AJ Styles should have won. The right person won. And look, the match itself wasn't without its critics. Now, I would say that 99% of people were universally gave this universal acclaim and praise on this match on social media afterwards and on the radio programs and whatever. But some people didn't. PWI said, quote, this is when it started, cringe-inducing bad or something like that. Let me just get the tweet up again. Yeah, cringe-inducingly bad was their quote. And this got a lot of response, because suddenly people were going, what are you talking about? Because that is a nonsensical opinion. I am the first person when it comes to professional wrestling, when it comes to WWE, when it comes to anything, saying that all of this is opinion. It's just like pro wrestling is just like music. People have their taste, people have the genres that they like and they don't like, and it's all about sharing your opinion about what you like and what you don't like. But I disagree with that opinion. It's not to say that it's wrong. I think it doesn't lack any logical sense, and you sometimes question if they're watching the same thing as you're watching. They're totally entitled to their opinion, but I could not disagree any more with them when it comes to that opinion. It wasn't cringe-worthy. It was great. I thought it was great television. I thought it was great production, and I thought it was entertaining. This is at a time where a lot of entertainment has gone, and like I said in my previous videos and podcasts, whether or not WrestleMania should be going ahead is a separate debate for a separate time. I've shared my opinions on it. I don't think the event should have gone ahead, but that's just me. I'm grateful for the entertainment, and I'm super grateful to have watched that last night. I thought it was certainly a WrestleMania moment, and certainly a WrestleMania main event that we're going to talk about for a long, long time, because it definitely left an imprint in our memories. We're still talking about it the day after. Social media is still buzzing. I've had people message me going, did you see that? That are casual fans of wrestling at best. So there is no way, in my opinion, that it was cringeworthy or cringe-inducing bad or whatever they want to call it. That wasn't the case for me. And it does raise the question. They're the ones that come out with these lists every year about who's the greatest wrestler, and they called AJ Styles the greatest wrestler of the decade, which is certainly an argument for that, and it's certainly an argument against that. But if that's their opinion on the Boneyard match last night, it raises the question of the legitimacy of their list when they do come out. But that's all I've got to say on the PWI bit. That was just something that I know a lot of people saw, and it was just, it was, in my opinion, I don't agree with it at all. In terms of back to The Undertaker and back to the match, the production, certainly The Undertaker isn't done. I don't think yet, and I don't think he's going to retire yet. Like I said earlier on, I think he's going to wait that out till Survivor Series, or if we're waiting out even longer with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, maybe he'll wait out till WrestleMania next year. In terms of the whole cinematic wrestling, because I've seen people talk about this as well. I mentioned PWI a minute ago. People are going to get angry. People are going to call it hokey. They're going to say, well, it's not wrestling. And I do agree with them partially there, because it's not wrestling really, is it? It's production, it's movie/television, it's sort of stunt work, isn't it? But hey, it's a hybrid of wrestling. And wrestling has been going on since, you ask Jim Cornette, it's been going on since, back to the carnival days, 1800s, whatever, maybe even before that. And wrestling has evolved to the point that it is today, and it will continue to evolve. It's a hybrid of wrestling, and as I mentioned, wrestling has to evolve, and this is it. this could be the next evolution in pro wrestling. I'm not going to say every match is like this, but I'm certainly going to say there's certainly an opportunity for wrestling, WWE, to evolve into these different kind of setting type matches, this cinematic wrestling. People are going to say, and as I mentioned earlier, people are going to say, well, WWE just ripped off Matt Hardy there. Well, I wouldn't say that completely. Lucha Underground technically were doing it first. If you go watch back of any of the Lucha Underground seasons, this was exactly the type of wrestling they were going to do. They were a television production team that did a pro wrestling program, and they used their television and production skills and expertise to create a wrestling program. And it turned out a lot like the Boneyard match last night. Matt Hardy even commented on this, talking about how his timeline blew up, but he doesn't hold any ill wills. He talked about, and I really liked this analogy, he said, in the same way that TLC laid the groundwork for future ladder matches, future TLC matches, the Broken Universe has done much of the same, and I totally agree with that statement. He certainly has helped spearheaded this direction of cinematic wrestling, and you can tell his fingerprints are all over that Boneyard match last night. Jeremy Borash was actually part of the great production team last night for the Boneyard match, and of course Jeremy Borash was an influential figure in help create the Broken Universe with Matt Hardy, with Billy Corgan in Impact Wrestling. So he was certainly all over that last night. So Matt Hardy's fingerprints are definitely over the Boneyard match. There's no discussion about that. It's absolutely the case. And, you know, look, I'm praising the WWE for the match last night. I'm praising the production team because, let's be honest, the production team there are true heroes. That was filmed, 10 days ago? And they've managed to turn that around and make that look so good in just 10 days. I mean, it's fantastic work. But let's make no mistake about it here. This wasn't the WWE's original plan. If WrestleMania had gone ahead in the stadium on one night, on the Sunday, on what would have been today, April 5th, AJ Styles and The Undertaker would have had just a regular match in the stadium. And who knows how that would have turned out. Would we have had the same sort of Undertaker match as we've seen over the last couple of years where it's not exactly what it was? Could have AJ Styles got a good match out of him? I was saying for the longest time that I thought AJ Styles would get a good match out of him, and I still do stand by that statement, but I'm not sure it would have been as good as what we saw last night. And because of the extenuating circumstances, WWE had to pivot, and here we are, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Now, I think in terms of the longer future, this sort of cinematic wrestling trend when it comes to WWE, it certainly does open the door for a lot of things when it comes to The Undertaker now, in my opinion. His character, whether it's the Dead Man, whether it's the Phenom, whether it's the American Badass, whether it's the original, grey glove or purple glove Undertaker, his character fits this cinematic style of wrestling perfectly to a T. And no doubt, it's far less taxing on his body. He's 55, 56. He mentioned even in that documentary, he's not got that much longer left. Well, I'm speculated in this very video that he could be retiring at the end of the year. But this kind of cinematic production style of wrestling, if you want to call it wrestling, is far less taxing on his body. Because essentially it's stunt work, and some of those bumps, I'm assuming there's going to be crash mats and all of that sort of stuff and smoke and mirrors when it comes to Hollywood editing and television editing. And there's edits. So you do your spot, edit, cut. Are you okay? Get back up. You're not going to blow up. There's a lot of ways and a lot more ways that he can work around any limitation he has when it's in a production style like that. So, I mean, a lot of people have said, look, maybe this is what The Undertaker should do for his matches going forward. He just does these cinematic shoots every year for WrestleMania. If that is the case, there is no doubt that he could go for an extra 5 to 10 years on WWE television, which is pretty nuts when you think about it. When you think about the documentary that's coming out about how much he probably needs to give it up very, very soon, how much pain he's in and how much he has to fight through just to get back and get into the ring. It's amazing that if he did this for just this style of match or production, shoot, whatever you want to call it, he could go an extra 5 or 10 years, which is insane when you think about The Undertaker going for an extra 5 or 10 years. Was it like 40 years in the WWE? Could you imagine that? It's insane. Now, I'm not completely advocating that he should still be in the ring at that point, but it's something to consider. It was certainly a spectacle last night, and it was certainly something that I'd want to watch again. And I think it also, this whole cinematic style of wrestling, it also opens the door for other guys who we thought were too old or too hurt to appear in a professional wrestling ring ever again. Hypothetically, and I know some people will roll their eyes when it comes to this, but hypothetically, we could get an Undertaker versus Sting match in this style of production, in a cinematic style where you're not taking bumps, where the punches are pulled and camera editing can work around it. We could certainly get an Undertaker versus Sting match. So, the worry, of course, would be with Sting's neck and could he get paralyzed, blah, blah, blah. But in a production, you could certainly work around that. So, and especially with the smoke and mirrors, I talked about how the cinematic style and the cinematic production certainly fits the Undertaker's character. It certainly fits Sting's character to a T as well. So that Undertaker-Sting match is not off the cards now. Like I said, this opens up a wide spectrum of doors about who could come back into this sort of thing. Mick Foley even went on Twitter afterwards and asked if he could be in the Boneyard match next year. Why not? He could certainly do it because it's not as taxing on the body. He had to retire because of concussions, because of chair shots, all of that stuff. But hey, he's not going to be getting any in this match. They can pull every single punch. He could barely get touched. So, hey, maybe he could do that match. Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan. There's certainly guys who said, I wish they could come back, but they can't. All of those guys, which we would think it's impossible for them to work again, could have a new lease on life. This just opens up a completely different door. So it's certainly something to consider going forward. But like I said, I thought the match was fantastic. If you haven't watched it, go out of your way to watch it. It was really, really fun and really enjoyable. It's up on the network already. And in terms of some of my favourite shots of this whole thing, has to be, of course, The Undertaker's arrival. That whole shot of The Undertaker coming down the dark road on the motorcycle, Metallica playing in the background, and then he stops, kicks the kick stop, stands up, and then they pan up and show The Undertaker in full American Badass looking gear. Fantastic. We also had the AJ Styles arrival in the coffin, which I thought was really fun. You had the sort of classic Undertaker music playing, and then a coffin arrives in a hearse, coffin opens, and it's AJ Styles to pop out. We also had some druids attack The Undertaker here. Apparently the OC, Luke Gallows and Kyle Anderson have gained control over The Undertaker's old druids, and they attempted to attack The Undertaker, which was a fun spot. And the actual shot of it, how they shot that one with the druids standing in front of a white backdrop or a lit up backdrop, just was a great visual. The Undertaker also put his arm through a hearse window, which looked so scarily close to when Bill Goldberg did it in WCW. And the Undertaker even commented, you've busted my arm open. That was just a really fun spot. They had a spot as well where AJ Styles did indeed bury The Undertaker, and he goes up to this sort of forklift to go dump the dirt on him, and The Undertaker just appears behind him with the light. And this is what I was saying about these sort of production qualities that they can use here. It adds a lot to The Undertaker because The Undertaker's character, that fits perfectly. This is then followed by The Undertaker choke slamming AJ Styles off the building. AJ Styles is saying, don't bury me. And this whole time, The Undertaker is just talking so much smack to AJ Styles during this whole time. And The Undertaker sort of fakes him out. He says, you know what? You've given me a fight that I didn't really expect, a better fight. You're good. And he even hugs him, laughs at him, which is, again, this is totally out of character of the Phenom, The Undertaker, but it's something that he can do as the American Badass version of The Undertaker. He can show emotion, he can show comedic timing, all of this sort of stuff. It's just great. This was Dirty Harry Undertaker. That's exactly what it was. It was Dirty Harry to a T. I know he played the Dirty Harry commercial, didn't he, before WrestleMania 21, but this is exactly what he was really doing here. So I thought it was great. Of course, he fakes it out, kicks AJ Styles into the grave, and then buries him. They also had a shot here where Undertaker sort of pulls this sort of, I don't know what it was, I guess like a rug or something like that, blanket, off of the tombstone. It says, "Rest in peace, AJ Styles." And Undertaker puts the dirt on AJ Styles. And they had this shot where there is a hand just poking out of the dirt with an AJ Styles Phenomenal One glove on, and it was so obviously a fake hand, which I know some people were saying, well, it was a fake hand. It didn't look like a good hand at all, but look, I'm willing to overlook it. I thought it was a cool visual. So apparently AJ Styles is dead now. This was the only thing when it comes to buried alive matches. The Undertaker would historically lose quite a lot of them, of course, because hey, if you who can actually physically come back from death, it would be the dead man, I suppose. But apparently AJ Styles is dead, unless the OC dug him out and recovered him quickly. It's rumored that WWE is going on a bit of a hiatus after WrestleMania, or potentially after the Raw after WrestleMania. So at least he'll have some time to recover, I guess. I don't know if he'll be on the Raw after WrestleMania. I would doubt it. Talk about killing the gimmick there. But it was super fun, super enjoyable. Really, really, really enjoyed this match. And like I said, if you haven't gone to see it, make sure you go and see it on the WWE Network. Worth watching. Best thing WWE have produced in the longest time. But what did you think of the Boneyard match? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you've come across this video today. And I'm sure I'll speak with you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.